Welcome to the MOGL podcast. I'm Tim Bryson, Director of Athlete Education and Compliance, and I'm the host of our show. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you're a returning community member, welcome back. As y'all know, the MOGL podcast is dedicated to educating all NIL athletes and brands on how to ensure compliance, how to maximize NIL activity, and how to make a difference in the ever-evolving NIL landscape. If you've listened to this podcast, since the beginning, right now, 10 episodes in, you heard more formal, more structured introductions, but since then I've kind of just laid back and allowed whatever the brain, the mind, the heart wants to share about the guest prior to them jumping on to just flow. So today we have a guest who I affectionately call Big Homie Z. She's a gymnast, a retired gymnast at The Ohio State University, Pittsburgh native, faith-driven, purpose-focused, and someone I know is going to share some information in regards to NIL and NIL education that we honestly have not heard before in the same way. Without further ado, Z, what's poppin', homie?
What's up? What's good? Big homie.
Yeah, I remember the first time I called you, you're like, what? And I'm like,
I was like, yeah, it's all good
homie.
now. Yeah.
Well, check this out, Z. I got my favorite coffee. I think our favorite coffee, Dunkin'. Shout out to Dunkin' Donuts. Nitro cold brew.
Shout out to Starbucks. That was, it's fueling me today and every day. So.
Did you get the red cup?
No, it hasn't come out yet. The Christmas cups did, but not the red cup. Stay tuned.
Starbucks. I just can't do Starbucks because it's just not good. It's just not good. But Starbucks, if you want to sponsor, if you needed an influencer, we got somebody for you. But very excited to have this conversation, Zoe, because again, from our previous conversations, both in Columbus and since then, you've been very focused and very centered on making sure that we amplify and really illuminate intersections of NIL that, again, we have not discussed as an industry. I think in some ways in which we definitely could and should, giving different identities. But before we jump into segment two, segment one is all about storytelling. You've been featured on a number of podcasts recently. And so whatever you choose to share on this podcast, again, we're more than happy and would love to hear it. But for those who may not know who you are, Zoe, what's your story?
Yeah, okay. So basically, I'll start back to whenever I was getting recruited. I was looking at colleges in 8th grade. Recruiting was super early back whenever I was in high school. So I ended up committing to Ohio State my freshman year of high school. Looked a few places, loved it here, loved the opportunity and environment at the school. Went through high school, pretty normal experience. I got sidelined my junior year for a shoulder surgery. I tore a few ligaments, tore it off the bone. So I was out basically the whole year. And that just, helped me learn what a comeback process was like and the hard work that goes into that. But came back my senior year, came into college, 2019. And then that next semester in the fall, that's when COVID happened and our season got cut short. So I was still in the dorm. So we got sent home, came back, and the next year was COVID. So basically I live alone. So I was isolated the whole year. I couldn't see anyone outside of my team at practice. I couldn't see my family. And then I couldn't even see my teammates that live somewhere else. So unless you lived with them. So that was a time that was super isolating, but I knew for me, God was using it for a bigger purpose, and that I was in isolation to try and find myself and find my authenticity and who I wanted to be and become in the future. So it was very difficult, but I used that to fuel me. So I went into the summer and decided at times I felt like I was shrinking myself, both literally and figuratively. I've struggled with my body image for a while, dating back to high school and even before then. And I always wanted to look a different way. I would always compare myself. So, and then everyone would always say I was very loud, which I'm a loud person. I just talk loud in general. So I'd always try and shrink my body and personality. But that year I had decided, hey, I'm tired of living this way and I want to live with the purpose that God has for me. So went into last year, had a super great year. And then it actually got cut short. I broke my foot and my season was done. I had to get a screw through the bone and I was out for the year, but I was sidelined again, but still helped my team in a leadership role. So that happened. And then over the summer, I did some things with NIL, went to the NIL summit, had an internship, and then just connected with a few more people. And so I got to August, and this is when so I actually have an autoimmune disease. It really was getting the best of me. I was diagnosed in it was 8 years ago. I don't know what year. I need to look back at that, but I was diagnosed as if I have lupus. So I have a lot of inflammation, joint pain, and then swelling. So my hands would swell up, and on grip or on bars, we would wear grips around our fingers, and it's a piece of leather that helps you grip onto the bar. And my fingers, I could not get them out because my hands were so swollen. I couldn't grab the bar. It felt like I had BFR on. If athletes are listening to this, don't know what that is. It sucks. And it's basically a device that you wrap around. I did my leg for my foot surgery, and it restricts your blood flow. So I couldn't feel my hands. I felt like I had bare paws. I would wake up in the morning and I couldn't get out of bed because my pain would be so bad. But I'm really good at pain. I just hide it. So not many people knew, but it was getting to the point where I knew if I was going to continue, I wasn't going to be able to run with my kids one day. So I ended up talking to my coach, and we had decided, hey, let's pull back reps. We'll try another month. And I tried some other things, got to the end of September, and mentally, physically, and emotionally, I was in a very bad place. And I was like, look, I have to take a step back and, be here for myself. So I ended up medically retiring, as you had said, and then really just launched into talking about medical retirement, NIL, athletes in NIL, and just branding with that. And just how I've used NIL to help myself in my career, thus far. And I'm still obviously in it. I'm going to be in it for a while, those steps following. But yeah, so that's kind of my story, where I'm at right now, and currently still working through some of the things with retirement. I mean, it's not a linear progression of up, it's up and down, but same thing. That's kind of where we're at now.
I love that. And I love how you at least started the conversation with us today, because we said two things I think that are super important, right? Your faith and purpose, but also being medically retired, choosing to medically retire. We're going to talk about faith and purpose in our next segment. But before we get there, you've been very explicit in saying that you're a retired gymnast, right? That you medically retired. And I don't think we hear that enough in regards to how people self-identify with retirement in their sport, either in school and or when they're done competing at the college or professional level. Why has it been so important for you to lead with, I'm a retired Ohio State gymnast, or I'm a retired gymnast in that conversation?
That's such a good question. I'm so glad you asked that. I don't know. I feel like that's another layer to me now. I would be shorting myself if I said, oh, I was an or I'm still an athlete. I could still say that I'm still at Ohio State and whatnot, but that is such a big step in my story that I want to talk more about. And I feel like it can help a lot of people. And then this isn't kind of what you asked, but I want to add it, but this is what helped me during the retirement process. And I came to the conclusion that, yes, I was a gymnast for a long time, and I would always self-identify as, hey, I'm Zoe Schweitzer, the gymnast at Ohio State or at the Ohio State University. But I realized through this whole time that I was a child of God, and I was able to cling to that, and that's my main identity and purpose. So that just really helped me. Every day I would repeat that to myself in the morning, knowing, okay, no matter what happens, how the day goes, I'm still a child of God, and that's all I need, athlete or not. And I try and tell that to as many people as I can, because same thing, it's my whole life is my whole life is changing right now. I'm just doing so many things, but same thing, the one thing that's not changing is God. So just clinging to him.
If y'all didn't think we're going to be in church on this podcast, we're here. It ain't take long, but we're here, and sharing our testimony. Segment 2, right? All about NIL, right? It's NIL education focused podcast. And for those who don't see the intersections yet, again, just sit tight, turn it up, right? Turn on the brightness, but we're about to get into it. And before we get into the authenticity part, right, or retirement athlete identity, NIL deals, which is still a thing, right? NIL is not exclusive to current competing college athletes. You were at least semi-active, right? A little bit active in the NIL space, and not just in the deals, but also your experience and engagement with Meta. So you just talk more about what that experience was, while you were a competing athlete, before we talk about how that's now transitioned as a medically retired athlete currently.
Yeah. So my main thing whenever I was competing was I wanted to collaborate with brands that their values matched mine, because at the end of the day, I built my audience pretty much not from scratch, but they're in the gymnastics community, and people looked up to me. So I wanted people to look up to me and see that I was authentic, and they can trust me in my decisions of the companies I decide to work with. So I think that number one, that was crucial. And then number two, with Meta, I was just so thankful for they're supporting me. And originally, whenever I was an athlete, the things I was passionate about and how they were helping and still continue to help me like in that decision. And really how important that is when deciding people to work with, whether it's an agent or a brand or a company, like whatever it is. If you don't truthfully believe in them, then it's going to show in you and your content, and it's not going to do as well as you had wanted it to do.
So it's funny you said it, because you said it's important to consider the people you're working with, right?
Yeah.
Not the brand deal itself, not the money that comes with it, not the product, but the people.
Yeah.
Again, you were in college when NIL dropped last summer.
Yeah.
Like, was it always your approach? Like, was that something that you like came and like grown into? Like, I guess when things first started to now, like, how was your perspective around NIL evolved over the last year and a half?
Yeah. Okay. So originally, my main thing was I never wanted to be in something for the money. I wanted to be in it for the people and the relationships and the connections. And I've really only fostered that even more now, in terms of in my career, like the connections that I've formed through NIL, and they're helping me in my career. So yeah, that was always my like principle all along, was if I take this deal like worth X amount of money, but it's not with I don't have a good relationship with that person, or I don't want to be like them in some sort of way, then it just feels wrong to me and it feels off. So that was kind of my main thing, of just making sure our values were, aligned in that.
What types of questions as brands approached you, right? Because obviously you're previously with the agency, now you're currently not. But when brands were approaching you, wanting to have conversation about, you representing them in X, whatever deal it was.
Yeah.
What types of questions were you asking to really get to the values, the mission, the purpose, the vision, part of the company and the people?
Honestly, I just did a lot of research on the like front end before I had a conversation with them. Because I feel like, I hate to say it, but people can lie and people can put up a front, and to look at the content, to look at the people that they work with and their experiences has really helped me thus far. Of, okay, like, let me see this person work with them and they had this agent, let me go talk to them and like get really what's going on. That's really saved me more times than not, honestly. But just with the brand of, okay, why do you want to work with me? What do you see in me? How can I help your company? Who are you? Like, why do you work at this brand? And I feel like you can see truly how people feel for a company when you ask them about their experience and their purpose in the company, because that can really show whether they believe in it or not.
That's super real. You mentioned earlier about faith and purpose, and I was on the Instagram live earlier this week. I think you saw on Monday. Shout out to Lexi Edwards. And I asked Lexi, it's a joke, but I'm being very honest when I say this, but I asked her, I'm like, yo, like, are all Ohio State prospective women's gymnastics athletes required to resonate with some level of faith or purpose before joining? Because all of y'all have been very consistent and loud about y'all's faith, which is amazing and super dope. In the same breath, thinking about diversity in the NIL space, and we as an industry, I speak for myself, always jump to race and gender, and religion and faith is not often or frequently discussed in conversations around a name, image, and likeness. As you began to navigate and really embrace and be and choose not to shrink, right? Really embrace who you are and share, how you're a child of God, how you're a follower of Christ. How have you found community with other athletes, whether it's at Ohio State, the region, or across the country or the world, to support you in that journey as well?
Yeah, so Ohio State has a Bible study for athletes that they created actually my freshman year. So that has helped me just find community and like connection with people. And yeah, some of my like best friends have come from that group. And then as soon as I actually like started sharing, more people would like reach out to me, or I would form connections with different people, and then we would talk more about it and like form a solid friendship off of that. So, but really, it's called Cross Sports. Has brought me so many people, brings so many people together, which that is a bond over faith, of course. But even whenever I talk about like body image, there's a lot of people in the aesthetic sports, the cheer, the gymnastics, the dance, all struggle with that because of what we're wearing and, what the principle of the sport is about. So just talking about that, I've been able to have more, like foster more conversations on that topic, which has been super great for, again, like forming connections.
So it's funny you bring up the body image and the sport, the dance, gymnastics, and you said cheerleading was the other sport you mentioned?
Yeah.
And cheer, because one of my friends who works for the New York Times sent me an article a couple of days ago. You may have seen her. You saw this, you know what I'm talking about?
I might have seen it.
It says It says new endorsements for college athletes
Oh,
resurface
yes,
in
yes.
concern. Sex sales.
Yep.
And I told her, I said, yo, like, this is a critique that we have not owned and have acknowledged over the last year and a half. And again, I'm in very loud, I'm a critique for us to get better, right? That's just what I do. So I am at my heart. And I have no issue doing that. But we've not critiqued what's currently happening and continue to celebrate while not acknowledging where there's opportunities for growth. So as I read that headline, and you saw the article as well, at least initial thoughts of someone obviously was a gymnast, retired gymnast now, and thinking about NIL, especially from a gymnast standpoint, given that we haven't critiqued how we can become better and more safe in that space as well.
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's something that's brought up a lot in the industry now, even just in the gymnastics world of, okay, like these people. And I think number one, first is just to bring respect to the athlete as the person first, like no matter what they look like. I feel like that's huge. And no matter what someone looks like, they had to put in some sort of work or some sort of like something to help them get to the place that they are. Like you can't just pose in front of a camera and automatically you get successful. Like there's a way to the madness, like with that. So that's always a way that I like to approach it is, okay, like, please be respectful. They have feelings as well, and they work pretty hard on that, even if that's what they put out and that's the content that they have. But yeah, honestly, I think that those are the two most important things. And you don't have to criticize someone else's brand to bring yours up, and everyone has place in the space. But also on the other note, I do think it's a conversation that needs to be talked about. Even whenever it was talking about diversity in the article, that was a very great point of, okay, there's these strong Black women posting things with NIL, but they're not getting the same type of reaction from these other girls, which no hate on either side, but I just think it's a conversation that needs to be talked about more, even with brands choosing athletes and the diversity within the group, no matter what an athlete looks like, but what they bring to the table in terms of purpose, intelligence, emotional intelligence, like all the above, like work ethic. I don't know if that answered your question. But...
No, there's no right or wrong answer. I just think it's another, I guess, part of the conversation you mentioned before that I would love for us to continue and make louder. As I'm thinking about now, especially given that you're on, in some ways, right, you're on the coaching side again, medically retired side. And so seeing sport, especially college sport, from a different perspective, from a different angle, while still also being inside of the system, if you will, inside of the enterprise. What are some observations you're making, not just about NIL, but also body image, right? Also around faith and purpose, also around authenticity on the coach side, like especially on the coach side, given that you're still working with, obviously former and current teammates.
Yeah. One thing that I've learned a lot is just to ask more questions to the athlete. Things might look all put together on the outside, but once you sit down and have a conversation with them, everyone's going through something very similar and something very hard. Even if they carry it well, the load is not always light. So yeah, I would say that the importance on building connections with the athlete for them to trust you. Because the more that they trust you, the harder I feel like they'll work for you. And I was the same way. Like if I trusted a coach and if I respected them, I was going to work extremely hard for them. But yeah, just like listening to the athletes, showing that you care, and then changing things if you need to, and then always asking for feedback, I feel like is essential.
That's good stuff. One thing you have in your bio on Instagram is fashion, yo. Are you a self-identified fashionista? Where's that come from?
No, I'm trying to get better at it. Like I'm like a street style person. I'm trying to get it together, I only got my shoe game. I started it last year. So I'm trying to get up with it, but
that's all love. Any brands you want to partner with, think about partnering with?
Okay, like a dream partner, just because I wear this all the time, my light always goes out. Would be Jordan, Nike, Lulu. Now that I do Pilates in the mornings, I always shout out Pilates. Everyone should go. I wear so much Lulu now, so yeah.
Lulu's underrated. I did not believe in Lulu material until I got my first pair of shorts. And that's when I was like, they
And you
got
don't go back.
You don't go back.
You don't go back. Yeah, it's bad.
I'm not going to Lulu until Under Armour hits me up, because I've been wearing their stuff for now 4 years now, and I'm like, give me something like now.
No, literally, I need to be like become an ambassador or something, but
Lulu has, you can be a Lulu educator.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I might have to tap in.
You could definitely do that. And before we move to segment 3, it would be remiss if I didn't mention this. Thursday 3. What is it for those who may not know?
Yeah. Okay. So I started a Reels series. That's something that Meta has helped me with, just in creating content, like finding things that you love and then talking about it. Because if I didn't do a series or make myself do a series, I was not going to post like Reels. And I feel like it's making me get out of the box more and more uncomfortable, which is good. So basically, I'm doing like a Thursday 3. Now I'm calling it Z's 3 because, get it? Yeah. So basically, I just talk about like 3 things that I feel really strongly about that week, or like 3 thoughts. It's kind of changed into just 3 things that I'm thinking about or all the above. So last week I talked about, what was it? Like being there for people. I don't know, some different things, and then one week I did like 3 stretches to help you get your split down, because so many people ask me questions about that, or like stretches, because we like stretch all the time, like as gymnasts, just to make sure that our bodies are like safe. Yeah, so maybe this week I might do something on fashion, on like a shoe, or like 3 things I'm wearing,
Yeah, what's the difference when you're building content on both platforms? What's the difference?
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so I've learned with Meta that you have to edit the video on the platform for it to do better. So a bunch of times, like some people would repurpose TikTok videos onto Instagram, but the algorithm, I guess, can tell with like the text and like transitions and stuff. So I've been editing all my stuff on Instagram on there, and it's pretty easy. I'm still trying to learn though. Instagram is a little more stressful for me because I have a bigger audience, and I'm like, all right, like here we go. Like, let's see how this does. Because you really never know how a reel is going to do until one goes. So I'm still trying to figure that out. And then for TikTok, I've been doing more like casual videos now because I want to get into vlogging. But even whether it's like a get ready with me or just talking about random like aimless things, I like to just post on there, just like as much as I can. So yeah,
it's good feedback. I'm trying to get into the Reels game because I'm definitely a TikTok repurposer. I'm a repurposer. I need to,
no, because I'm like, if you have like the TikTok like logo on there, or even the text from TikTok, it won't do well. It won't do as well as it should.
That's what I'm saying. I'm learning.
Yeah.
I was definitely like, I'm not jumping into the Reel space. I'm not doing Instagram Live. Like, I'm sticking to how I started, but I'm exploring, just testing some things out.
No, do the Reels. Trust the process.
Yeah, if you have Meta listening to this, make sure you verify my account. I've been trying for like 10 years.
Me too.
Yeah.
I need articles written about me.
I said I could do Zoe. Segment 3, yo. We've had a great conversation thus far. A lot of points that we could have talked on a little bit more in detail or further, but we'll have the opportunity to do that, whether on an Instagram Reel or Instagram Live. If you want to go live soon. But for those that are here right now, 3 things you want our audience to remember and leave with after our conversation together.
Yeah. Okay. So I would say be authentic. It's hard at times, but you being the real you, like the world needs it and needs you in that space. And then I would say chase your passions, like go after it, find the things that you love and that you're passionate about, and pursue them. And then number 3, I would just say to go for it. This is something as of recently that I've done, stepping into a new space, but be uncomfortable and go for the thing that you've been thinking about. And the worst thing that can happen is you fail and then you try again. But yeah.
To the point. I love it. Anything else you want to share with the people before I ask my final question?
I don't think so.
Who else do you want to see on the MOGL podcast? Who should we get on here?
Wait, who have you had? Have you had anyone else from Ohio State?
Logan, episode 2 or 3.
Okay.
Oh, and Marvin.
Okay, that's what I thought. I was like, I thought you had Marvin. You should get someone else on the football team if you have time. Well, people are
Okay, I got an idea.
Okay.
I got an idea.
Okay. Or you could, let me
Let me
see.
get mine.
Mayan. I don't know if I can get Mayan. I don't know Mayan like that.
His story is, from what I've been able to watch
Yeah.
and hear, I appreciate how he's telling his story on social.
Yep.
Or or a coach, or how I say coach would be interesting too.
Yeah. Or even Zed Key on the basketball team. Like some of my teammates are friends with him. That would be cool. There's people I'm thinking about. I have some of my friends that would definitely jump on.
Let's do it. We can do this. We go
Yeah.
live. Ohio
Yeah.
State live, alumni,
Yeah.
current athlete, just shooting the
fun.
breeze on Instagram. Well, before I go, Zoe, big homie, yo, you mentioned earlier that, really prior to the isolation, because of COVID, because of whatever the pandemic, you were shrinking, right? Choosing to
Yeah.
shrink your body, shrink your
Yeah.
personality.
Yep.
I had to intentionally go on my app, my dictionary and thesaurus app, to find the antonym to shrink. And I'm very glad that you chose not to shrink, right? But instead to grow, to increase and walk into who you're becoming, and who you are now. Your
Yep.
voice matters. Your voice is loud, and we need it to be loud. That's why it was, given to you. I'm glad that we got to share your gift on this platform as we continue walking in our purpose and going forward, as you mentioned before.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
So I love big homie. For everyone else, yo, make sure you tune in to the Ohio State Women's Gymnastics program. Be sure to check out their competitions at the Covelli Center this upcoming, what is this, fall 22, spring 23 schedule.
Yeah.
I look forward to having additional conversations and more conversations about NIL education at the intersection, right, of more diverse identities that we have not discussed yet on the MOGL podcast. But as always, until then, get MOGL.